I sit here now after many months of coaching with a successful acquisition under my belt. And I know that that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't had that acceleration and that coaching. If you are someone that's after and wants to be challenged and reach the best version of yourself, there's no one better in my mind. My name is Natalia Scheidegger, and I'm the CEO at Third Mill. We're a technology services provider for small to medium businesses, and we specialize in solving business problems with technology for mostly financial services companies. I think I found frustration in the business because I wasn't moving fast enough. I knew there were levers I could pull to grow faster, and I wasn't pulling them, and I couldn't work out why. And I didn't have the clarity or the space to even answer the question properly. I knew I had the answers, but I was frustrated because I was stuck in the weeds and stuck doing the same things every day to get growth and not getting the outcomes that I knew could happen. My challenge had been beforehand that I was very reliant on gut instinct and the next thing. And while I was able to move the business forward and hustle forward, there never felt like moments of clarity or understanding or alignment to a clear vision. I think when it comes to coaching, I really wanted someone that would say it straight and be direct and honest. And I found that in a lot of the coaching and mentorship engagements I've had in the past, while short lived, there was a very supportive approach, very conversational style approach, but often there was either a reluctance or inability to point out what was really going on. It was a very surface level conversations designed to help me through certain obstacles and certain things that were right in front of my face, but there was never the scratching and insights below the surface, if that makes sense. So what I was after was someone who had the curiosity and the directness to be able to ask the deeper question and understand the why. Not just this is the obstacle, but why is this the obstacle? In reality, to ask the question, is this the right way to think about the problem at all? And it needed a different um, approach. I sit here now after many months of coaching with a successful acquisition under my belt. And I know that that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't had that acceleration and that coaching. I think if I was to sum up one word that I now have about myself that I didn't have before, it would be clarity. I really am clear about so many things. And this is not just about clarity on the goal I'm executing in the business, but I'm clear more about who I am, about what drives me, about my motivations. I know what makes me tick, what ticks me off. And that understanding, that clarity that I have about myself makes me a much better operator in almost every domain I could name. Once we unlocked that, really the outcome I was looking for was I wanted to be the sort of person that was successful and could be successful and had confidence in their ability to do that, regardless, that if I tried and failed, it wouldn't matter because I'd try again and get there eventually. So as we unpack that, the journey to 10 mil became about acquiring another business, because in my industry, that was the fastest road to growth. And once we established that why and that vision, the goal, the big, hairy, audacious goal, we moved very quickly to what does Natalia need to do in order to chase that acquisition and deliver on that. And it went from a really strong why goal setting process to a very tactical execution that really linked those two things together. I absolutely loved working with Idamar because he was the right fit for me. The coaching style was warm and genuine, but also hard and direct. There was nowhere to hide, but it didn't feel uncomfortable in a way that was confronting at any point. It definitely felt uncomfortable in some of the things we talked about and some of the things we had to explore, but it was done with genuine concern and care. What I loved about the approach that we took was very, very early on, we established what the North Star kind of looked like. And getting to that 10 million was the initial version of that. But understanding why and why that goal was so important was a really big unlock very early in the piece, because it made me realize that that goal and ambition was more about how I was being seen and my desire to be seen, as opposed to something tangential. I know that Idamar changed my life, and that the saying I walk away with sometimes in my mind is, what would Idamar do? Because so much of the coaching shaped so much of how I think and move through life now. So for me, if you are someone that's after and wants to be challenged and reach the best version of yourself, there's no one better in my mind. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, and myself included, struggle with this idea that busyness equals productivity. And the main takeaway for me was the productivity and performance that you can get out of yourself when you actually take your foot off the accelerator. That slowing down and giving yourself breaks, which feels so counterintuitive to the always on entrepreneur, can actually yield a better outcome and a better version of yourself. And I think, to sum up a saying that we spoke about often during our coaching and which will stick with me for the rest of my life, which is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I can't describe, I cannot encourage you more to jump and go ahead and do this, because you will never regret it. But it's also not for everyone. I think actually you have to be a certain kind of person to want to do this. And that's the sort of person that wants to do this is hungry and knows they can be more than what they are. And I think if you are the sort of person that has that hunger in their soul, and that knowledge that you wake up and go, I could be more, then to me it's a no-brainer, because it's such an unlock. It's not to say that you couldn't and won't grow throughout life and throughout experiences, but coaching and going through the process of performance coaching unlocks the best version of yourself the fastest way possible. And when you framed like that, it's a no-brainer, because why wouldn't you want to get there and be that person tomorrow?